Hey friends, welcome back to day 2 of our watercolor tip a day series for World Watercolor Month. Today we're diving into brushes, how they work, what to look for, and how to choose the right ones without feeling overwhelmed. So let's get right into it. Okay, I feel like the first thing that we should do is go over the anatomy of a brush. Every brush is going to have this same thing. So we're going to start out by having your brush. It's going to have the handle that you hold, and then it's going to have the size, the brand, the type. You can hold your brush however you want. I will go into that a little bit. But yeah, so there's the size, there's the type, that's the brand, and like the subcategory of the brand. The SKU is on the back, all that fun stuff. And then we have the ferrule. So this is the metal part that connects everything together. Different brands use different ways to press or attach the ferrule, but its job is to always hold the hair securely in place. This spot is technically called the heel. This is where the hairs start. Pigment often builds up here, so make sure you rinse after each use. And then in the bristles, this is the belly of the brush. This is like a reservoir. It's the thickest part of the brush. It holds the water. And then it comes to the toe or the tip of the brush, and that's where you're going to get your detailed work. Every brush is going to be different. Now this is a controversial take, but when it comes to holding your brush, I don't think that there's one right way. Some might disagree, but I say hold it where it feels comfortable for you. Maybe don't choke it up on the bristles or wave it around like a magic wand. Somewhere in the middle, comfy and relaxed, with a nice light grip. Let it feel easy in your hand. If I had to suggest one brush to start with, it would hands down be a round brush. I love having a few sizes like a 2, 6, 8, or even a 10 if you want to go big. Rounds are just awesome because they're super versatile and you can get fine lines, broad strokes, and everything in between. Now let's talk about the bristles or the hair of the brush. This part makes a big difference in how your brush handles water and paint. High-end brushes are often made from natural hair like Kolinsky sable, squirrel, and goat. Yep, really. But honestly, you don't need those when you're starting out or ever, especially if you prefer not to use animal products. Synthetic and blended brushes have come a long way. They're affordable, cruelty-free, and many of them perform beautifully. Just make sure to look for the ones with soft, springy bristles that hold their shape when they're wet. So let's swatch some brushes. Again, if you're going to get one brush, I would recommend a round. You could see that that belly holds such a great amount of water, and this is a small brush. And this one's very loved, so you could have seen the tip of that brush could be replaced. I could get a new one because it was a little bit bent. And this is the 6, so this is a little bit larger. And this is where you're going to practice water control. You see, I could have added a little bit more water in there, but you can do so many different things with a round brush. You can do dry brushing. You can get one that's very loose and flowy. So these bristles are very loose. They're not dense. So I'm able to create some more organic shapes. And it's just so much fun to choose all different types of brushes. You don't need all of these brushes. This one is the same size, but you can see it's very bouncy and dense. It's a very sharp tip, and this has a synthetic bristle. This is giving me a very crisp edge. I can almost stamp this type of a brush. So you can see how I'm pressing down using the tip, opening that belly of the brush, and just giving myself practice here. I'm just doing some drills and getting to know. I'm literally stamping this brush. So this is a larger round. You can do the same thing with this. You can get fine details with the tip, and this one has a larger belly. The bristles are larger, so you're able to cover more paper. Moving on to a flat or a wash brush. Flat brushes are great for big washes. You can even get sharp lines with them. You can turn it on its side and do thin lines, or use the flat side for bolder strokes. So I'm just going to show you how you can sort of make a wash with this on a very small space, but this is great if you want to do a large piece of paper and wet the whole thing and sort of do wet into wet, or make some graded washes. You can also get yourself a smaller flat brush and paint with that. So this is just a smaller one. I often don't use this, but there are great different tips and tricks that you can look up and learn about these. You could do the same thing. And then there's a filbert brush. So this has a rounded top, and I love these. It's almost sometimes when I use these, it's like cheating when I'm creating some petals because it has that rounded tip. But same thing, you can use the tip for detail, and then you can kind of make some petals and paint with this the same way you would. And then we have our liner or our rigger brush. This is just a very long and skinny brush. It's meant for super fine lines. These can be super long or sort of short. They're great for details, and At first, it can be a little tricky to control. You do have to refill these with water quite a bit, but as you can see, you can get a lot of great details and you can even do some lettering. Here we have a mop brush. These are fluffy and absorbent. Mop brushes hold tons of water. They're great for backgrounds, big gradients, or wetting the paper before painting. Almost like the wash brush. It's really up to you for preference. There's just different uses for each brush. I will note that this is a synthetic bristled mop brush. I feel like I'm saying brush too strong, like Sean Connery. Brush. Now I have my water brush. So this is handy for painting outdoors or on the go. The barrel of this brush holds water and it lets you paint without a jar. So it's not super precise or high quality, but it's super fun to experiment with. You just sort of squeeze out the water, obviously not on your hand. You can squeeze it onto your palette like this and wet your paints. And it works the same way, but you just don't need the jar to like wipe it off. You can still have the jar. I typically do use the jar when I'm working with it at home, but when you're not home, you can just use a piece of paper and blot or whatever. See, it works the same way as a regular brush. The bristles on these are typically nylon and they stain very easily, but they do come in different shapes. I find them very fun to play with. When you're getting started, it's easy to think that you need every brush out there, but really you don't. Just start with the 1 or 2 brushes that you enjoy using and then build from there. That's it for brushes right now. If this helped, please give it a like or subscribe to follow along. I'm sharing 1 tip a day for the month of July. Tomorrow we are going into all things watercolor paint. I'll see you there.